Hey, good morning from the office. I'm your host, BKP. We are North Georgia's only live online morning show. Welcome. Thursday morning, January 4th. It is cold. Some of you are reporting 3 degrees, 6 degrees. We have looked all over social media at the snow. I'm seeing the palm trees in Savannah covered with snow. The East Coast is getting blasted with a winter mix with warm air coming off like a hurricane mixed with snow. We are freezing. I hope your pipes are not froze up. I hope your pipes are clear and nobody's froze up. I'm telling you. I hope you left a little water dripping in the pipes. I asked you that yesterday. Please, please. I know it's tough out there. The Arctic blast. In a little bit, we're going to see where Sam is today. She picked one heck of a week to take off and go cross country and find out. Maybe that is, Lonnie, what her real... she's on special assignment, finding out what it's really like to be cold out there, going through Nebraska and Wyoming and Nebraska and Iowa. I think that's what it is, Lonnie. She's going to come back and give us a really cold report. But
you assume she's coming back,
huh?
You assume she's coming back.
Yeah, I understand. I assume she's coming back. But oh, wait a minute. Do you know something I don't know? I mean, what? Am I going to be the last to know? Oh, my gosh. Don't do that to me, Lonnie. Don't do that. Anyhow, that being said, Sam took off last week, and she's on a trip. We're happy for her. Our producer, general manager, and Lonnie is sitting in, so we're glad to have Lonnie. Lonnie's done an outstanding job this week. Also today in the state of Georgia, Speaker David Ralston will hold a pre-legislative session press conference. I will be there at that press conference, find out what will be the most important pieces of legislation that we may see come up on the floor in this session. We're also going to have an interview today. We're going to interview State Representative Jeff Jones. Georgia House Representative Jeff Jones is from District 167 down there in Savannah. He's a Republican. And we're going to talk about two bills, HB 484, which would, in Georgia, illegals get a driver's license issued to them. He wants a driver's safety card issued. He doesn't want a regular driver's license. He's going to explain that in our interview later today. So we're going to be talking to him. And we're going to ask him also what he feels the political posturing will be under the Gold Dome. You have Mike Williams as a state representative. You have Josh McCoon, a state senator. You have Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle. You got a lot of people down there in this session that's running for state offices. So there'll be a lot of political posturing. We'll see if we can get something out of him on that and what that looks like. So Doug Jones, and then there was 51. First of all, let's tell people how you can contact the show. The show is 706-889-9700. 886-9700, and that is for anytime you hear news, see news, you get in touch with us, 706-889-9700, 24/7. That's our tip line. Also, you can email us, chief@fetchernews.com. Also, follow us on Twitter, @FetcherNews, @FYNTV. So that's how you get in touch with us. Also, please go to our YouTube channel, FYNTV, Fetch Your News, our YouTube channel, and that is where you can also subscribe, and anytime we're live or we upload a video, you can get it there. So then there was 51. 51. Republicans now have 51. So yesterday, Doug Jones, get that video ready. Let's start with that this morning, get it out of the way. Yesterday, Doug Jones and Tina Smith were sworn into the U.S. Senate. And let's play the swearing in just a minute of the two new Democrat senators. And then we're going to talk about Democrat senators and maybe another split in the Republican Party. Tell me it's not true. Let's play that video, Lonnie.
The chair lays before the Senate the certificate of election to fill the unexpired term for the state of Alabama and certificate of appointment to fill the unexpired term for the state of Minnesota. The certificates, the chair is advised, are in the form suggested by the Senate or contain all the essential requirements of the form suggested by the Senate. If there be no objection, the reading of the certificates will be waived and they will be printed in full in the record. If the senator-elect and senator-designate to be sworn in will now present themselves at the desk, the chair will administer the oaths of office. Please raise your right hands and repeat and prepare to respond. Do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter? So help you God?
I do.
Congratulations, Senator.
Okay, Doug Jones. Doug Jones is now the senator from Alabama, and as you noticed, Joe Biden, former vice president. You know, the only thing Joe Biden said, he didn't see anybody to grope. I know, you don't like that, but Joe Biden, you know. I mean, there had to be somebody in Doug Jones' family in the picture today that we can find, you know, Joe softly massaging a 12-year-old's, you know, shoulders. I'm sorry, I know you don't like that. I know you don't like that. But it reminded me of that. Joe Biden goes down standing beside Tina Smith, the new senator from Minnesota, taking Al Franken's place because, you know, Al's back to writing for SNL. You know, like the old days. But that is the new Senator Doug Jones from Alabama and Tina Smith from Minnesota, sworn into the U.S. Senate. And now there's 51. Republicans have 51. We understand we have a picture of Roy Moore hightailing it out of town in Alabama. We've noticed we found Roy Moore, and there he is. He's on his horse Trigger. And as soon as that swearing in went down, Roy said, "Trigger, we're out of here." And, you know, you could hear the Trigger go, "I can't do a horse. I just can't do it." Okay, I would try if I could, right? So Trigger's headed out of town. Roy Moore, he gives up. It's over. So speaking of Roy Moore, speaking of Trigger, speaking of all of that, then we get even further into the Republican Party. And if you know where we're exactly at, I'm going to defer to you this morning because the gushing Joe and Minka and the gushing left and CNN and, oh my God, they tried to tell us the disarray in what was going on in the White House there. The media feels vindicated today. They told you Trump did not like Steve Bannon. They told you Bannon was a problem. They told you Bannon was the dark side. And he got fired. And now this validates the media somewhat, right? I don't think so, but really? I mean, how long will the media put out that they tried to tell us what was going on in the White House? So yesterday, we started talking about this book that's coming out, and Bannon said that, according to his comment, Don Jr., the media would crack him like an egg. Crack him open like an egg, the national media. So Donald Trump responded. Let's start with the president's response to this. And do you have that? We pulled you could read the response, and we're going to read some of it in just a minute. But at the same time, we pulled what I felt was the clearest statement that President Trump. So listen to the statement President Trump made about Steve Bannon. And you're going to tell me this just came about, that they just knew the book would come out next week, and they just found out what Bannon said, and Donald Trump released this statement. So let's play the statement from the President of the United States concerning Steve Bannon.
We're getting reaction from President Trump responding to Steve Bannon's comments about a meeting that took place between Trump campaign officials and a Russian attorney. This is coming from a paper statement issued to the pool here. Steve Bannon, from the president. Steve Bannon has nothing to do with me or my presidency. When he was fired, he not only lost his job, he lost his mind. Steve was a staffer who worked for me after I had already won the nomination by defeating 17 candidates, often described as the most talented field ever assembled in the Republican Party. Now that he is on his own, Steve is learning that winning isn't as easy as I make it look. Steve had very little to do with our historic victory, which was delivered by the forgotten men and women of this country. Yet Steve had everything to do with the loss of a Senate seat in Alabama, held for more than 30 years by Republicans. Steve doesn't represent my base. He's only in it for himself. Steve pretends to be at war with the media, which he calls the opposition party, yet he spent his time at the White House leaking false information to the media to make himself seem far more important than he was. It is the only thing he does well. Steve was rarely in a one-on-one meeting with me and only pretends to have had influence to fool a few people with no access and no clue, whom he had helped write phony books. We have many great Republican members of Congress and candidates who are very supportive of the Make America Great Again agenda. Like me, they love the United States and are helping to finally take our country back and build it up, rather than simply seeking to burn it all down. Again, this is reaction from President Trump to Steve Bannon's comments.
So Steve Bannon called Trump Jr. Russians meeting treasonous, supposedly. There's a book coming out. Okay, there's a book coming out. Former White House chief strategist Steve Bannon reportedly called the 2016 meeting between Donald Trump Jr. and a group of Russians treasonous. According to the new book seen by The Guardian, Bannon said the meeting that occurred during the 2016 presidential race was treasonous and unpatriotic. They're going to crack Don Jr. like an egg on national TV, Bannon reportedly told author Michael Wolff, referring to the investigation into Russian interference into the 2016 presidential election. After news of the meeting surfaced last year, Bannon reportedly said the three senior guys in the campaign thought it was a good idea to meet with foreign government inside Trump Tower in the conference room on the 25th floor with no lawyers. They didn't have any lawyers. Even if you thought that this was not treasonous, Bannon went on to say, or unpatriotic, or bad SHIT, and I happen to think it's all of that, you should have called the FBI immediately, Bannon said, according to the book. The quotes are chronicled in the book Fire and Fury Inside the Trump White House, which is scheduled to be released next week. Now, let me say this. The book is scheduled to be released next week, all right? Be careful with this one, folks, okay? Because I'm going to defer to you. The book Fire and Fury is expected to be released next week. So when they write a book, they interview people well in advance, okay? Nobody interviews Steve Bannon on Monday and they write the book on Tuesday. It doesn't happen, okay? So we know that these quotes that are in this book, supposedly in this book next week coming out, are quotes that Bannon made several months ago, had to have made several months ago, weeks ago, maybe even longer. And so that being said, it's like when Donna Brazil's book, it's like a book release. If you go back, I would like for you to go back and take a minute at every book release. Every time. It's like this country is sitting on book release day all the time. So next week this book comes out. Now, are there any royalties to anyone outside of the author? I don't know. But we don't hear too much about Donna Brazil on a daily basis. The book is out. She did the book. Years ago, you would do the book tour. You would do, Phil Donahue. Was that his name? Was that his name, Phil? Phil Donahue? You would do Phil Donahue's show. You would do the Oprah show. You would do the nightly shows. Those would be the book release deals. Maybe Fox and Friends in the morning. Good Morning America. But now a book release is major news, and it turns into news. I'm just saying. I want you to put two and two together on this. So Bannon said, according to this book, I think that even if you thought that this was not treasonous or unpatriotic or bad, you know what, and I think all of it, you should have called the FBI immediately. So the president, which you just heard the president's statement, put their pictures up, Lonnie. It's almost like you have to, it's almost like you have to sing this. You have to sing like a lounge singer. When you see Bannon and Trump president releases a statement, it's almost like you got to, it's like a lounge singer. You have to say, yes, it's over. Call it a day. Sorry that it had to end this way. You lost your mind, Steve Bannon. You're no Andrew Breitbart. F you, John Podesta. You have to do it like a lounge act, right? What did he say? When he was fired, he not only lost his job, he lost his damn mind. Oh, that was a bad one. I'm going to try that again. He lost his mind. Now that he's on his own, Steve is learning that winning isn't as easy as I make it look. Oh my gosh, really? Everything to do with the loss in Alabama, leaking false info to the media, all right, and helping write phony books. What exactly happened? I defer to you. Now, obviously the press, okay, and Lonnie, let me go ahead and get that ready, okay? Obviously the press. Now, Mick Mulvaney, the budget director, and we have what, January 17th? Is it January 17th? We got another can we have to kick down the road. Nobody ever talks about cutting anything, cutting any waste, cutting back. There's no cutting whatsoever. They can't find a damn pair of scissors in the entire Congress anywhere. Anybody got scissors? No, we haven't cut things in years. We don't even talk of it. Don't even speak of it again, all right? Oh, Mick Mulvaney's down there to make a budget deal. You got Bannon and Trump have split. Now, we're going to come back to this because this one's not adding up. Okay, I like the 2 and 2 is 4 kind of stuff. This one's not going to 4 for me. I'm just telling you, it's not. Something's not adding up on this one. Too much. You can't tell me that. Did Bannon make Trump look that bad in Alabama? What's about to happen? Because Bannon pushed Roy Moore. And Bannon, and Donald Trump went to Pensacola. Let's just put everything out because I'm deferring to you. I can't wait for the All-Star panel Friday. So Bannon, probably pushed Trump to campaign for more. Trump goes down to Pensacola, Florida, actually does the closest thing you could do to campaign in Alabama for Roy Moore. Roy Moore lost, as you could see earlier today. Doug Jones, first time in 30 years that Alabama has got a sworn-in Democrat senator. What really happened here? What does this mean for 2018? I will tell you what. The champagne corks were popping everywhere because, one, with the Bannon comment that Trump Jr. is going to get cracked, Trump Jr. will get cracked like a egg on national media. Well, that's a little more for the Russian investigation, corruption, collusion. That whole narrative gets a little more fire on it. There's a little more fire on the media, on the story that the media will play, that they actually knew something, and they actually were reporting when they say sources say inside the White House. When Priebus and Bannon were there, they're going to say, well, this validates us. They're licking their chops because they think this really screws the Republicans for 2018, that there's going to be a bigger fracture, that there's going to be Trump supporters, there's going to be the Republican establishment, and then there's going to be the Breitbart, okay? The Andrew Breitbart. And I want to say, so I would say it in a minute, Steve Bannon, Breitbart, white supremacist, okay, side of the aisle. It's fractured. So they're going to have they're having a great day. This is a great day. But you and I have to sort through what really happened to these two guys. What really took place? What are we being set up for? Because I defer to Frank all the time. They're all playing checkers. Trump's playing chess. Now, something like this always explodes about the time, okay? We have a budget deal. Mick Mulvaney is supposed to be down at Capitol Hill with Nancy, Chuck and Nancy, Chuck and Nancy, and Mitch and Paul, and they're all supposed to be down there working on a budget deal. But this breaks. So what's going to happen January 17th? What's going to happen with this DACA deal, the wall, all the above? But, one of my heroes, you know her, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, all right? At the press conference, she tries to set the tone with the budget. She tries to talk about the budget, but the media, Trump is again throwing the red meat out there. Do you have that ready to go? Immediately, this is what the media does.
Cecilia.
Thank you, Sarah. The president says that when Steve Bannon was fired, he not only lost his job, he lost his mind. Does he feel betrayed by Steve Bannon? Does he regret hiring him?
I think the president's statement is extremely clear what his position on Mr. Bannon is. It was pretty lengthy and pretty detailed, and there's not really much to clarify or to add.
But is there regret then? I mean, he says a lot in this book, and they did have a long and close working relationship. So is there a sense of betrayal?
Once again, I think the president's statement fully addresses what his position and what his relationship with Mr. Bannon is. April?
Sarah, when was the last time the president talked to Steve Bannon? And this is a serious question. Is the president now blocking Steve Bannon from calling his cell phone?
I'm not aware that he was calling his cell phone, but I believe the last conversation took place at the first part of December.
Now, what does this do to the base? That these two powerhouses are fighting the Republican Party. What does this do to the president's base?
I don't think it does anything to the president's base. The base and the people that supported this president supported the president and supported his agenda. Those things haven't changed. The president's still exactly who he was yesterday as he was 2 years ago when he started out on the campaign trail. His agenda hasn't changed, and he's continuing to fight for and push for that agenda. And I think the base is extremely excited and happy with the job that this president has done in his first year in office. Look at all he's accomplished. I think they're pretty happy with where he is. Peter?
Steve Bannon has a distinct following, the alt-right, and some people who may not necessarily be for the other, people who are xenophobic. What happens there?
I think that's a question you're going to ask Steve Bannon. The president's base is very solid. It hasn't changed because the president hasn't changed and his agenda hasn't changed. And we're continuing to accomplish a lot of the things that were on the president's agenda as we did last year. And we're going to do a lot more this year as we move into the beginning of 2018. Peter?
A couple questions. I'll try to make these simple. First, did the president's
You don't think I can handle the hard ones?
Did the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., commit treason?
I think that is a ridiculous accusation and one that I'm pretty sure we've addressed many times from here before. And if that's in reference to comments made by Mr. Bannon, I'd refer you back to the ones that he made previously on 60 Minutes, where he called the collusion with Russia about this president a total farce. So I think I would look back at that. If anybody's been inconsistent, it's been him. Certainly hasn't been the president or this administration.
So to follow up on that, did the president meet any of Donald Trump Jr.'s guests at that June 2016 Trump Tower meeting on that day?
As the president has stated many times, no, and he wasn't part or aware of that.
Finally,
John Decker?
if I can ask you, after the tweet about nuclear threats, the nuclear button tweet, should Americans be concerned about the president's mental fitness, that he appears to be speaking so lightly?
Okay, folks, that is just a brief part of the press conference. Take my mic out of my ear, friend. Thank you. That was just a brief part of the press conference that goes on and on, that they can't get Steve Bannon and Donald Trump off their mind. They wanted to know if the president had blocked Steve Bannon from the cell phone. The base. What happens to the base? The alt-right following. The following of the alt-right. What happens? Did the president respond to Bannon's comments about Don Trump Jr. as treason? All I am telling you is it's what I'm deferring to you. Tell me what you think happened, okay? Tell me what you think happened and is going on now. And Donald Trump put out in what they're calling in a bizarre 265-word statement, Trump indicated Bannon for some of indicted Bannon for some of his activities at the White House, and afterwards he blamed him for the loss of the Republican Senate seat in Alabama in the special election last month and accused him of leaking news reports while he served on the White House chief strategist. Quote from Trump, Steve had very little to do with our historic victory, which was delivered by the forgotten men and women of the country. Trump fumed, yet Steve had everything to do with the loss of the Senate seat in Alabama, held for more than 35 years by Republicans. Steve doesn't represent my base. He's only in it for himself. So this is, hey, yes, it's over. Call it a day. Wonder what 2018 the voters will say. Don't know. I don't know. Just say it. You got to do it as a lounge act. I'm going to practice that. Yes, it's over, Steve and Don. They've broken up. It's like Teen Beat back in the 70s. They broke up. The band. Steve has left the band. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. Before we go to our first break, Monday, don't forget, no, Tuesday, January 9th at 5 p.m. at City Hall of Blue Ridge City Hall, right? Yeah, 5 p.m., meet and greet the mayor and the new council members. That's at 5 o'clock from 5 to 6. All the council members will be there, a meet and greet. Following the 5 to 6 o'clock meet and greet of the mayor and the council members, the 6 o'clock hour will be the official meeting where they will be sworn in. And also the meeting starts at 6 o'clock, the first 2018 City Council meeting that's in Blue Ridge. Now, on Friday, Don't forget, we're at Circuit World and Blue Ridge, Friday mornings, and we have our Ask the Doc segment with Dr. William Whaley. That's every Friday morning. We have our Ask the Doc. If you ever have a question for the doc, you send that to info, I-N-F-O, info at fetchernews.com, and just put in the subject line there, Ask the Doc, and we will get that to Dr. Whaley. Also, we're going to have our all-star panel. Will be Rick, Bruce, myself. I don't know if Jane will be back, but if you ever want to join the All-Star panel, you send me a message here at chief@fetchernews.com or text me or call me 706-889-9700. Tell me you'd like to be a part of the All-Star panel, and we'll get you on there. And then we're going to have an extended Team FYN Sports Weekend Review. It's going to be 30 minutes instead of the 10 to 12 that we normally have. That'll be the director of Team FYN Sports, Jason Banks. Lonnie will be getting into the conversation. Rick will be getting into the conversation. Friday, we've got a really big couch. So if you want to talk, yes, college football. If you want to talk about the Rose Bowl. If you want to talk about Alabama does not stand a chance next Monday night at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. If you want to talk about you don't think Georgia stands a chance, whatever you want to talk about, we're going to do it. Let us know, 706-889-9700 or chief@fetchernews.com. Come down and be part of the college football national championship conversation. We want to get several people there for that extended version, and then we always wrap up Friday with our star of the show, our pet of the week. That's the pet of the week from the Humane Society of Blue Ridge. That's at Circuit World in Blue Ridge. We're going to take a brief break. When we come back, we're going to take a look around, see where Sam is at, and then after that, we're going to play our. We're going to do today. I thought yesterday was such a great interview with Beth Bennett. I want you to stay with it. If you missed tax tips with Beth Bennett, I want you to H&R Block. I want you to stay with that because she answers some very big questions that are some confusion people may have over the new Tax Reform and Job Act. So we're going to play that as we close, and then we're going to interview Jeff Jones. He's a Georgia House of Representatives. Jeff Jones, Republican from District 167, because the session starts Monday. I'm your host, BKP. Take us to break, Lonnie. We'll be right back.